Hello, welcome to the Trews. I'm Russell Brand. This is a German Shepherd dog, Bear. You're a good boy, aren't you? Today I want to talk to you about Lego and Gary Lineker, new modern heroes building, ironically, a better world. I suppose like at a time when we feel somewhat powerless, like the political machine might be running out of control, like we have limited purchase politically, that there's some optimism in the ability of the Stop Funding Hate campaign to influence Lego. I suppose Lego, as a fundamentally friendly organisation, have decided to respond for calls for them to cut ties with newspapers such as the Daily Mail, but there are others that propagate negative ideas around immigration or race, but I suppose in a more general way just have an antagonistic and fearful kind of resonance. Lord Beaverbrook, one of the great pioneers of the newspaper industry, instructed his journalists that every newspaper article they write should make the reader feel either more afraid or more angry when they finish reading it. And that's sort of precisely the experience that many people, not Bear particularly, have when going through the Daily Mail. That's why I suppose it's exciting to see a public figure like Gary Lineker being so free with his speech and so free with his opinions. Gary Lineker has had talks with Walkers, who he's the brand spokesperson for, so like about its relationship with the Sun newspaper. You have to admire Gary Lineker, who's sort of in mainstream media, the host of Match of the Day, standing up for what he believed in. A couple of tweets like the treatment towards some people, towards these young refugees, is hideously racist and utterly heartless. This, of course, as a result of refugees, I think, having their teeth examined and their beards examined to examine their age. That just those kind of ideas for people that are familiar with some of the ideas around immigration, racism and indeed genocide from the last century find those kind of stories very upsetting and disturbing. And I think when someone like Gary Lineker stands up and speaks out against it, it's sort of it's kind of exciting. The reason I find it exciting is because both Gary Lineker and Lego are kind of mainstream cultural icons. So Lego's not for your radical anarchist baby who wants to bring down the state. Here's some farmyard animals and a new Star Wars tie-in. These are obviously, Lego are a big business, and they have recognised that their ability to do business effectively is being influenced by the Stop Funding Hate campaign. This, I suppose, is perhaps where our new power lays, and it's interesting that our power is not as voters or members of a democratic community, but as consumers and members of a consumer society. That's where we really have influence. Last year, print ad spend in the UK national newspapers was 1.2 billion. Digital newspaper ad revenues totaled 8.6 billion. In your country, Americans, it's 16.2 billion. The top 5 advertisers in the UK are Sky, BT, Aldi, Asda and Lidl. So those are some of the companies that I suppose that you would want to have an impact upon or influence. The very fact that their adverts are placed in these newspapers shows you that these newspapers reach a lot of people, and that people trust the things that they see in these newspapers. Sometimes you wonder if there's a real ideological agenda. I once climbed up the house of the man that owned the Daily Mail, that Lord Rothermere, I think was his name. It's Russell Brand to speak to Lord Rothermere, say it's about living here and taxes. You know, but like really it's primarily driven by sales. Last year News Corp newspapers revenue fell by 6%. Brexit though drove national newspapers in our country, Britain, to almost 3 million extra sales. That's just in the month following the referendum. So this climate of sort of confusion, hate, accusation and doubt that we're living in is to some degree as a result of the stories we're being told about our reality by these newspapers. Newspapers that I myself still look at, and I'm not condemning you if you look at them. It's just, you know, sort of part of life. If you want to get a full page advert in the Telegraph, it's 59 grand, 51 grand in the Sun, 45 in the Mail, just a mere 37 in the Star, but you know, who sees that? 27 in the Times and 18 grand in the Guardian. So like, you know, those adverts cost money, and I suppose what this sort of story points to is, on the negative side, we do have a world that's governed more by money than by anything else. That is the dominant language. That's where the power is really situated. What happens on the level of democracy, the alterations, the fluctuations, no matter how powerful and influential they may seem to be, are secondary to the economic interest, to the real global players. But curiously, a big company, albeit quite a friendly one like Lego, I don't know if they've got some terrible Lego skeletons in the closet. I mean, a Lego skeleton, is that an image you want to have in your mind? You know, that influence can be brought about if people stand together, if people campaign. So what a wonderful organisation Stop Funding Hate are. And also a figure like Gary Lineker, who I would have adored enough for his 6 goals and golden boot in Mexico '86, for the moment when we went about Gaza, meaning his head's gone in Italia 90.
The great moment of his football career might well be snatched away from him.
Proven that there's new realms of heroism to be explored by public figures and ordinary people. This is a time where we need to be optimistic about our ability to change the world, because in a way it seems to be somewhat freewheeling, out of control, and I think a lot of us, whatever side of particular arguments we're on, feel on an emotional level a degree of confusion and fear. But actually, ordinary, everyday heroism by the likes of Lego and Gary Lineker provide us with small crumbs of optimism and remind us that it's not over yet. Evolution continues as surely as the Trews continues. Isn't that right, Bear? You're a good boy, you're a good boy. Subscribe here if you wish to. Thank you.
Nose is a tool that is abused to fool you and to leave you scared and confused. Trews is like the nose. If the nose was true, I want some Trews. Let's have some Trews.